Okay. For those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Kirsten, and I'm going to be your MC for the next 4 days. And so I just wanted to welcome you. I am so grateful for this wonderful session that we just had with Leti and Kenji. Next up, as they mentioned, we're going to do a mindset session with Coach Sunni Smith. Let me tell you, I know that Leti told us a little bit about her. Let me tell you a little bit more. So Sunni Smith is a Zero to Freedom alum. She's the founder and CEO of Empowering Women Physicians. She does transformative coaching. So she has a background in clinical as a clinical professor. She's a top-ranked female entrepreneur. She's known for her groundbreaking work in the culture of medicine. In this live webinar, we're going to just dive in. We're going to let her share a little bit about her system, her company, how she works with people. And let me see if she should be joining us any second. Let's see. Look at all the people we have here. Kenji, I know that that Sunny's back there and that she's backstage just kind of waiting. She's probably dancing, enjoying the music, and we're good to go as soon as we can figure out how to get her to join us here. Nebraska. Where else are people from? I love that people are sharing. Nebraska, California, Michigan, Seattle, New York City, Texas, Tampa, Western New York, Carmel, California, kind of different than Carmel, Indiana, just so you know. Washington, Providence, hi, Quay, Pennsylvania. Look at all these, San Diego, Miami, Florida, Atlanta, Idaho. Oh, Carmel by the Corn. Woo, woo. Okay. So let's see. Oh my gosh, we have a few people from Carmel. We definitely need to get together. Sunny.
We made it. I became panelist or co-host or something. And so it's letting me come on again.
I'm so grateful to see your beautiful smiling face. And I was just bragging about what a ball of light and support and love you are. Look at all these hearts people are already giving you.
Oh,
I love
thank
this.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
hello, everybody. And I see a bunch of San Diegans in the house.
Right?
Sorry. Go ahead. Yes, I'm in San Diego right now.
Oh, are you? That's awesome. Hopefully not for surgery for your son's injuries.
No.
Okay, so see, we're getting bigger and better every day. Okay, city of brotherly love. Okay. Hey, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world? What do you want to do today?
Who, me?
Yeah, we're gonna do some magic stuff.
Okay, what's going on in my world today? Well, this is a real estate summit. So we are going to talk about real estate and coaching and people's perception of their ability to get results in real estate. I know when I first met Kenji and Leti, I was like, that was 5 years ago. And I was like, that's nice that you do that. That's interesting. Okay. And I never, ever thought that it would be for me. And then over time, having spent weeks to months with them, I was like, oh, this might actually be something I could possibly be interested in, because they kept talking about the benefits. And then I was like, well, maybe. I mean, it doesn't seem that hard. And then I took their course and, walked alongside them. And quickly during the course decided to buy properties. First, I did a single family home. We rehabbed, refinanced, rented it out. Then we did that again. And then we decided, I was like, I'm never going to get wealthy and get fast fire this way. So then we went with a 16 unit as my next one. And we quickly, this is all within the first months in the first year, the appreciation had exceeded, after we forced appreciation with rehab, had exceeded my full-time clinical salary. I was like, wow. So I've been working 365 days a year, right, to do this thing. And which I loved my clinical work here in San Diego, running a free clinic, advising medical students. But it was just like, oh, how did no one ever tell me about this? Seriously, how did no one ever
Yeah, but
mention
how
this.
many courses in medical school did you take on financial
Yeah.
literacy or,
Yeah.
like
Zero.
life
Zero.
balance or, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, a
So
little bit of grace there. Yeah.
yeah, so anyway, that when I come on with you, I never know exactly what we're going to say or what we're going to talk about, but just, when you say is my intention here on this day with this summit, because these people, I coach a lot inside semi-retired MD, not a lot, but regularly each session I will hold a session. And here, this is for people who are not yet doing it. So they're more on the fence like I was. And as I said, it took weeks to months and me spending all day, every day in person with Kenji and Leiti at times after I met them to really come around to like, maybe, just maybe. And so that's sort of, I think, the phase that a lot of people here are in. And mine was 5 years ago. And as I said, it has like stages in your life, because there was a stage where I was spending a lot of time, we were spending a lot of time sort of working on that, managing that, seeing where it fit into our life and financial picture, and assets, and how much of our assets we want to do in that versus doing other things. And that changes for people over time, right? And so people think it's like all or none, right? And you're like, oh, well, if I do this, then everyone's going to think I'm crazy and, whatever, like this is such a huge step. And so, as I said, I started with like money that I was willing to lose. Like I bought a $160,000 house, but I think I put
Kind of like going to the gambling boat, but different.
Yeah, I think I put like $30,000 down. I was like, this is not a huge deal, God forbid, no matter what, right? And then we went bigger and bigger, kind of rinse and repeat. And then we kind of sold and toned down and went into different kinds of real estate, passive, active. And then, everybody gets to continue to go on their journey, whatever that looks like, and allow it to evolve as it evolves. And so now, like, for instance, for the very first time, I just came back to San Diego. I was in Puerto Rico for a few years, and of course we still have our house there. And just a handful of days ago, we came back here, and I was like, I never thought I would do this, but because for 20 years I've been a homeowner, and now I'm like sitting in this beautiful rental. While I was here, I was like, I'm gonna sign a lease. Like, I don't know if you can see it if I look out there, but like the ocean is right out there. I probably need to do some kind of, I don't know, lighting so you can see it, but like it allows you to be flexible. Like, I own these things because they are assets and they produce income. And I live in spaces like when I met Kenji and Leiti, I was like, my home was paid off. It was a $2 million home. I owned it in cash. And they're like, that's money jail, Sunny. What are you doing? I'm like, my house is not money jail. Why would you call my house money jail? And then I was like, oh, you're saying if I leverage and get a HELOC, I could use that capital and put it somewhere else, because a lot of us think we have no capital, right? Like, I was a primary care doctor running a free clinic. I'm like, where's my capital? I don't have a lot of free capital, but I had worked hard to pay my home off. And so I was like, oh, I actually have leverage to a lot of capital. And so a lot of people here do have hidden money they don't realize. So anyway, I'm here to talk to real people about their real concerns as someone who was definitely not an expert at this and has gone in and out and evolved in ways that fit me. And, I ended up spending most of my attention these past years, as running a multi-million-dollar coaching business that's, featured in Forbes and Entrepreneur Magazine and on the Inc. 5000, just like Kenji and Leiti were on the Inc. 5000. We went together last year. And so that takes a lot of time and attention as well. And so again, you continue to evolve over time with what your family wants, what you want, what your financial assets are. And so here we go, talking with real people about their real concerns. So raise your hands, people.
Let's talk about that for a second. So we got like 75 minutes, and I just want to set the expectations, because some people might think that you come in and we're just going to knock through people, like, let's see if we can get, double digits. And that is not the expectations I want to frame here. What I want to frame here is that we're going to invite one, maybe two people up, and and we're really going to dive deep. And so even if you are not one of the two, because we have hundreds of people here, I want to make sure that you are listening for like aha moments that resonate with who you are and where maybe you might be getting a little bit in your own way with some of your thoughts. And so what I would love to see is think about your identity. So if your identity currently is, I am a doctor who is maybe feeling like I'm in medicine because I have to be, and not necessarily because I get to be. So some of that joy has kind of, like that. That is who I want to talk to. I want to talk to somebody who maybe doesn't see themselves as somebody who could be a real estate investor, because that can be kind of a scary label just to hear right out of the gate. So if you identify with that, if you're out there, you don't have any properties, you are in medicine, it is not as much fun as you thought it would be, and you would really like to fall back in love with medicine, and maybe you're thinking, could I be a real estate investor? You're the hand I want to see raised in the air so that I can bring you up here and you can serve as a testimonial for the transformative power of coaching with this magical woman sitting here before you. So let's see, we got Julia up here. So Julia, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did that resonate with my call to arms? Did that resonate with anything you were feeling
Yes,
in your soul?
both of them. Yes.
Okay, let's see here. I'm going to promote you to panelist. Change. This is our first year with Zoom events, and I'm really digging it
Yeah.
so far, but there
I
is a
was
little
like,
bit
what
like
is happening? What is happening back here?
yes.
But they're
Backstage? What's a
navigating it.
backstage? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I see her. So now, Julia, we just need to put your camera on. We can hear you.
It says I cannot start the video because
Exactly.
the host has stopped it. Is that
That's what
okay?
happened to me too, Julia. So they might have to make you a co-host. That's what they had to do to me to make it
Okay.
work for me. Okay, now they're making you co-host.
I see.
So try again.
There it goes.
Hey, okay.
I'll try to get it
going to
lift
pin
backlit
you
here.
to.
There we go.
I'm going to pin
I'll
you to
backlit the
so
house a little
that
bit. Oh
you
goodness, I
guys
made
are
it
the
worse.
stars of the show. Pin and we're going to pin. There we go. Okay, Julia, who the heck are you? Share the wisdom with us.
Hi. So I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist here in San Antonio, Texas. I retired out of the Air Force after 25 years in 2022 and started a little tiny private practice with just myself for the last couple of years. My husband was also retired Air Force. He was a pilot. He still works for the Air Force as a civilian now, and we have 5 boys together, ages 31 down to 16 is our youngest. And
Wow.
lots of pets, 3 dogs, 2 cats, a horse, a bunch of frogs. So that's sort of my story. I actually, so as far as background with Kenji and Letty, I actually took Zero to Freedom in 2023 and stayed on as Empire Builders. And then I'm also in EB Pro now. And yeah, but still I know that I'm dealing with some stuck points. And so thought I would.
Yes. Oh my
get on
gosh,
there
you're
just
a
to
great
raise my hand.
example. You're a great example. We will, we probably have different examples of people at different phases of their journeys. And I was sort of in the introduction speaking to people, who I thought might be here at the earlier stages of their journeys. But as you said, and as Kenji and Leti will repeatedly say, and continues to be the case for them, it never goes away. The mindset work never goes away. The limiting beliefs never go away, because as you get bigger and deeper into things, there's just more zeros after the worries and concerns, right?
Yes.
Like I used to, for instance, like when my coaching company was just started as an example, or my real estate journey just started, right? As I said, it's $160,000 was the first one. And then all of a sudden it's $1.6 million, right? And so then like the 10% changes or the things that you find and you have to rehab, instead of them being $20,000, they're $200,000. And you're like, okay, so let's just re-ground ourselves and look at our emotions, look at what we're thinking and feeling and doing with awareness, non-judgment, kindness, compassion, and then say, okay, now how do I deal with this and how do I move forward, no matter what? Because so it's such a great example. And so I'll tell people just to help guide people through, because I see a bunch of people typing, what would be the word, chat, texting to hosts and panelists only. And so I'll tell everybody who's on this call, the hundreds of you on this call, to make sure that you drop down your little webinar chat box if you're going to use it. to everyone. And I'm going to do that too, because sometimes I do type in here. And I find it super helpful when people are interactive in the chat box, right? Because it keeps them paying attention. It keeps them noticing like what you're saying. If people find something that resonates with them or they want to support you with, you know, they can type that in there, and then we just see how that's going. And there's a handful of questions, which I'm sure Kristen is going to get to, about how to navigate these things. I see people that many people that I've never met before, never heard of before. I see people who say they've met me in person, some people who come to Puerto Rico, some people who are in San Diego. I'm actually in Solana Beach right now. I used to be in La Jolla. And so, you know, for context, you may know Julia because I've been around the block inside Semi-Retired MD, but for people who are less familiar, you know, Penji and Leti spend a lot of time, money, energy, effort, travel in the coaching world, and attribute a huge amount of the success, and in fact, their impact on other physicians through Semi-Retired EB Pro to coaching. And so for people who want to coach with me, as an example, it's a minimum of $10,000 to get into our coaching program, right? These are like high level, high impact coaching programs. Our outcomes can be found in PubMed, you know, in academic journals, for the most effective physician wellness intervention that has ever been documented. I think in part because I do life and business coaching, right? So as you mentioned, private practice and doing this, because otherwise there's so much pressure on your private practice that it has to be everything in your life, right? And so when you do this, it's like, okay, well, there's different levers that I can pull, and we can do that whenever we want to. So the journey you just described is the first program for long-term rentals is called Zero to Freedom, as you did. The next program is like a continuity program, which is called Empire Builders, which is a like very inexpensive, you know, way to continue to have support through the community. And then there's like a high level mastermind called EB Pro. So for people who don't know what you're talking about, I'm just introducing them to what the language. They're like, what's ZTF? It's like, it's the initial, very comprehensive real estate investment course where they give you all the information and the like how to and community and mindset, etc. Okay, so tell us, because you probably know where we want to make sure that we do like thoughts create feelings and actions and results, and that there's facts and then there's drama, there's math and then there's drama, there's, you know, sort of the actual facts and your narrative about them. So give me the facts here. We're going to call them the circumstances, right, of your real estate journey. What are the current facts? Like how many things do you own? Any kind of, if you want to give any numbers on cash flow or not, just give me some kind of fact that you're concerned about that you want coaching on.
Sure. Thank you. So for real estate, my husband and I don't own any properties except beside from our primary home. And through EB Pro, I was able to do a syndication raise with Sage, and that went very successful for me. It was, was able to earn or to raise the amount that they considered a general partner, which was really exciting. And then my husband and I'm the one driving this ship a bit. As you mentioned, I heard that earlier, that one is more passionate than the other. And I was together able to convince him to take a HELOC out of our primary home. And we use that money to invest in Sage, which is, so that investment should work really well. So the facts are, I really want to start on getting a property. And what limits me, it's numerous. I fall into this, here's the main stuff point, is we have not been very wise with our finances until I would say about a year ago, because, being military, we knew we were going to get pensions, which we both have. We just never really paid attention to it. And with 5 boys, a couple in college, one in private school, pets and all this, we make a lot of money together, but we spend almost all of it. So we're trying to fix that. So one of the facts is, I think what's holding me back with making the leap for purchasing a primary, rental property, is the down payment would be almost the entirety of our extra capital income. And I think that freaks me out, because one, I'm driving the ship, and so he puts a lot of faith in me, and he hasn't taken any of these courses. And so it's that fear of, yes, I know that you can always fail and lose money, but that'd be a lot of money to lose, and that's it. We'd have to
Mhm.
like work extra hard to, so that's sort of where I'm stuck. And you know, and I know there's ways around it, but and then I get stuck
Mhm.
too with, even this is so silly because I've done Zero to Freedom and I'm not a shy person, I don't think, but even just like reaching out to call contractors or property managers kind of freaks me out because I feel like I don't own anything yet. And it's just kind of like, what do you say to that? I don't know. Like I've taken the courses.
Yes.
I know how to get around this logically, but emotionally, I'm still sort of like stuck.
Yes. And okay, so Spencer, who I don't know at all, has typed into host and panelist. So that's why I'm saying it. Spencer, you might want to drop down to the everyone so that everyone can see what you're saying. And it says best relatable story. Thanks
Oh,
for
thank
being
you.
here today and for sharing, because I mean, right, you are further along in the journey and you are not giving yourself credit. I will point out some ways where that is true, for being as far along in the journey as you are. And then you are feeling stuck and you are still having the same fears that people at the very, very beginning, before they ever even consider paying a handful of thousands of dollars for a course, right? So that they don't make some ridiculous mistake in real estate, right? Like, for instance, I'm in San Diego and people are like, why don't you buy this house? Like the house that I was looking at renting, this seems random, but it's completely related, right? It's just because once you learn, you can't unsee it. Right. And when you know things about real estate, you cannot unknow them and unsee them and unlearn them, no matter where you are sitting or walking or talking. So just like if we're doctors and we see edema or something, we're like, okay, heart failure, you know, like we have a differential. You can't look at someone with edema and just be like, oh, that person's fine. You know, so so I went to look at another place to rent down the street, and it had sold 2 weeks earlier for $5 million. And they were renting it to me for $10,000 2 weeks later. And I'm like, 10% cash on cash. How much would they have had to put down on this property? $1 million.
Right.
That does not make sense. This is the worst real estate investment I have ever heard of. This is a terrible investment, right? And so we can't unsee and unknow. So you just to give yourself the credit, the reason that people enroll in semi-retired MD is so they don't make these ridiculous mistakes, because they're like, oh, it's such a beautiful place. It overlooks the ocean. I can rent it. Yeah. And you'll be upside down. And this is the worst use of your money. And so I talked to the agent about that. And she's like, yeah, I'll tell you the story, you know, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, of course there has to be a story, because if you have $5 million, you know, at least hopefully, that your money can make some return on investment. So just saying, this is why you enroll, right, in that program. And so you know these things and you still move forward with the nervousness, anxiety, I could fail, I know the things, but I'm scared to take action. I kind of think it's like when you do step 1 and step 2, or really step 1, for those of you who aren't doctors here, that's the like preclinical, you haven't really touched the patients yet, but you've done all the learning. Right. So you're like, I know the blood pressure is supposed to be under this, but you've never really tried to get somebody's blood pressure under that. And so how do we learn? What did you said, what's your specialty again?
Child psychiatry.
Oh, right. Yes. Child psychiatry. Okay. And so let's say people are like, okay, well, you could try Prozac or Zoloft or Adderall, or, you know, like these things could work. How do you really get to know how to take care of the most complicated patients that you have? Like, what are the more complicated patients that you have in your specialty?
I would say the ones with comorbidities, so high functioning autism with bipolar disorder would be a good example, because just the medications are more complicated. They don't respond as well to most medications because of their autism, and they have more side effects. And that's probably the most complicated.
Bipolar's at risk, right? Because they can get mania and they're higher risk for suicidal ideation and suicide. And so, yeah. So this is not like an easy, like this is not the first house that I bought for $160,000, right? This is the more multifamily. We have more on the line. The mistakes have bigger consequences, like for my 16 unit or whatever, in the equivalent of taking action in the medical world. And so how did you learn to be comfortable? Well, how comfortable are you on a scale of 1 to 10 with a high functioning autism bipolar patient?
At this point, very comfortable. I've been doing it for 23 years, so it's almost
like 10.
I'd say a 10. And to your first point, almost to where it's a little monotonous, like losing kind of the joy in it.
Fascinating, right? And so then our brain looks for the next challenge
Mhm.
because our brain likes progress, right? And when you're in like college, medical school, residency, attending, like you feel the progress, and then you start your own practice and you feel some progress in that, right?
Mhm.
And so now you're 10
Mhm.
out of 10 comfortable. And so tell me how comfortable you were, like med school, residency, and then new attending with this diagnosis. How did it sort of progress?
Oh, I would have been clueless in med school, probably
Clueless.
clueless. Yes, yes, for sure.
Yeah, in
Probably
med
for the
school,
first, yeah.
even on your psych rotation, even within
I
attending
learned
there.
so much after graduating, just doing clinical practice. That's where I really learned it. And
Ah. So not even residency, like right
I
when you
mean, I
became an
learned the
attending.
basic, yeah, the
Yeah.
basics, and you learn the basics, you kind of learn, but it's so different when you start doing it for years and years and years because nobody's the same. You have to get creative. All of most of our medications are off label. And so it's a lot of educated trial and error, unfortunately, but it tends to work out.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so tell me about the educated trial and error.
So you have the clinical studies that you can generally lean on. Some are with children, but most are with adults. And then knowing how I treat a lot of autism. And so just through experience, knowing which medications tend to be better tolerated, which ones tend to activate them. So it's off label, but with experience, I can usually, that's what I mean by educated trial and error, and that there's no actual studies supporting the combination of most of these medications. I like treating autism because it seems like every single child, teenager has a different medicine combination. It's almost like, a little bit of this, back off on that one. Let's try this one. Okay, that's working. Let's try this, and then there's a side effect. And they end up with some, 2, 3 different medications. And all of a sudden it's like, they're good. It's like, oh, I don't touch a thing.
Yes, yes.
But there aren't studies to support that necessarily.
Right. I mean, this is really, I haven't really gone, I've been coaching physicians for 6 years. Like it was September that I really opened my doors for paid practice. And so it's been exactly 6 years. And I haven't really ever quite gone through this in this way and had somebody say where they are and how they got to 10 out of 10 confidence in their specialty and have them go through. And this is the trial and error. And it was like, I had no confidence. I really had to get out there on myself, on my own. I like complicated things. And there are no studies and no precedent. And I just have to go for it and try. And every single one is different. And then you get it and you say, oh, and then you feel expert and then you move on, right?
Yes.
And you're ready for your next challenge. And I'm hoping and believing that you can absolutely see how this is the exact same as your real estate journey. Right. Yes, it's literally the exact same words. And so I will, I'll see, because often I will open, as you probably know, if you've seen me coach before, that in the introductory sessions when I coach, I usually will try to open a whiteboard. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it in this setting. And if not, that's okay. We'll just do it verbally. So I'm going to be poking around. And of course, since I'll be poking around, people in the chat box can type in if they see any analogies with this, or if I'm the only one that sees the analogies with this about how this could apply, how we could apply. Because if we have something in our mind to say, it's like, right? Like in my coaching program, I have like a big, what would be the word, archives as an example of all kinds of things people could watch. And so if people are like, I need to watch A to Z or I fail, I'm like, no, that's like school. We don't watch A to Z. That's ridiculous. There's no finishing, right? And so, but if I say it's like Netflix, then they're like, oh, you just watch what you want. And it's impossible to finish Netflix, right? So if you can say, oh, I didn't used to know anything. I was insecure. I was clueless, even though I had a mentor and a teacher who was present right there. I was absolutely clueless. And the only way I learned, I started to learn when I took steps. And then when I really got on my own and had to deal with individuals that were different in different scenarios, and I tweaked and tweaked and tweaked. And then I learned how to do it. Like that is going to be the analogy I hope that you can carry forward with you in this situation, and that many people here will. Kristen is saying, I don't think there is a whiteboard. She says she can type into the notes. Okay, so what we do is we identify the fact versus the story. This is one of the most important things that I think as a coach I can do, the fact, and then what we're thinking about it, the perception of it, the mindset of it, you know, the story you're telling yourself of it, because the story is the reason that you're taking action. And we all have confirmation bias of our brain. These things are very neurobiologic, right? You tell yourself to look for something, you will find it. If you look for reasons that Trump is going to be the best president we ever had, those people find it. If you find the reasons that he cannot possibly be the president and it has to be Kamala Harris, you find all those things. It's the same with like looking for, like, I just bought a brand new car because I just moved back to San Diego. And now I'm like, literally, I'm like, this car, no joke, this car is everywhere. Everywhere. I dropped my son off at school today. The car was right next to me. I went to the grocery store, literally the same exact car. A week ago, I didn't even know what the name of this car was. Right? It's just a brand that I didn't know what kind of models they had. And so you will find evidence for what your story is and what you're looking for. So I said, what's the fact? And the fact is, like, you say, we were not good with our finances. I am stuck. I don't own real estate. I'm like, which one of these is a fact again? Right? We are not good with our finances. Can everybody see that's not a fact? I hope people can see, like, type in, yes, if you can for me. If you can see, that's not a fact. And if you think it's a fact, please tell me why you think it's a fact. So, I mean, at a minimum, Kristen can tell me for sure. She knows this is not a fact because she's been around the block. The types of things that are facts are things like for instance, let's just look even at, obviously, I'm not good at finances, or we weren't good with our finances. This is clearly subjective, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Do you know your net worth? I'm not going to make you say it, but do you know?
No, it's okay. I did do that. That's been my focus in the last couple, probably 3-4 months is really looking at the numbers for the first time, filling out the net worth sheet. I don't remember off the top of my head, and I got a little stuck on, do you include your pension plan and all that junk? But
why wouldn't you? Did you earn that money?
That's true.
Well, yes, okay. You did. And if you died, would it go to somebody?
Yes. Part of it, yes.
Notice how we negate what we have achieved, what we have earned, what we have accumulated. Well, I don't know if I should count that. That's like, it's a human thing. It's also a physician thing because we're taught to be humble. And it's also in particular a woman thing, right? That we tend to downplay our achievements. And we don't want to be seen as bragging or over, counting, whatever, qualifying things. But yeah, you earned that money. You weren't born with that money, right? So let's count all of our assets. Everyone here is like, look at Russ is like, I'm a guy. I count the pension and I'm going to round up, right? Everybody here round up, right? Why not? Because it creates a feeling of like, oh, we're going to look. So everyone here, remember I said that people can look, they'll find what they're looking for. Everyone here, look at your assets. Assets. Just this webinar is an asset because, and I know that sounds like weird and or arrogant and or, whatever, like trying to influence people to do something. But what it is recognize that you are taking action and your time is your biggest asset and you chose to spend it here. Or I could say you chose to invest it here, right? Just like you chose to invest it in med school and you had no financial return at the beginning, right? But you trusted, you believed, and you've spent your time investing in knowledge, and that pays off. And so we're going to count everybody's here's net worth, and I bet there are some people who have negative net worth, right? Because when you get out of med school, you're negative net worth. That doesn't mean you can't do this, right? A lot of people have their home with a lot of debt, and they're like, well, I have to pay off my debt. And they say my income is low because I'm primary care. And I'm like, if you had any money in the stock market in the last year, it went up 30%. So if anyone here had hundreds of thousands in the stock market may have out-earned your earned income, right? So it's just important to look at, because like I didn't make very much money as a primary care doctor, but when I started looking at my assets, I was like, oh, I'm not actually a poor physician, and people have like poor pediatrician and poor whatever mindsets. So approximately, again, assets can be time, they can be courses you invested in, they could be knowledge, they could be books, they could be family members, they could be certainly any kind of finances. So you have an approximate idea of your net worth? And again, you don't have to say what it is. You can.
This is, I probably should have remembered it a little better. I remember looking at it and thinking I was disappointed in it because we have a lot
that's
of
a
debt.
feeling.
Yeah,
that's
feeling.
a feeling.
I know, so it's not a
that's a feeling. So a
yes.
fact is, do you know it or do you not?
I don't know it off the top of my head. If I had to guess, I'd like.
You could just say yes or no if you want. Again, if you want
I
to tell
don't know
it
it off the top of my head.
You know it within 50%.
Yeah, probably. If we count the house, probably around between 200,000 and 400,000, because I can count the investment.
Of course,
right. And then if I debt, that's not including. So I don't know with the pension. It's weird to make that an asset if you're dead. I guess because it goes to someone else. You're saying I'm like if you're dead, it's not an asset. But
I'll tell you, I know my net worth and my pension and my husband's pension. It is in there because, and I go to a financial planner. That's one of the magical things I did after I met Kenji and Leti. And if anybody here hasn't done that, I highly recommend it. I went to a Tony Robbins event and they recommended it. And that's where I learned that I was financially free. I had absolutely no idea. I'm not saying most people here are financially free, but we spent very little money. As I told you, our house was paid off, and like I drove a 2006 Acura that was a salvage vehicle as an attending, as a full professor. Like I just wasn't someone who spent a lot of money at all. And I bought it for like, who knows, a couple grand. And I sold it 10 years later for $1,500. So, and that was literally last year. Right. And I already told you, like I'm in Forbes, so we just didn't spend a lot of money. And I know not everybody is like that. Now we spend more money, but whether you're financially independent or what your finances are, like a financial advisor can help you look at things in a very objective fact way. And so they taught me what happens to my retirement if I don't touch it. They taught me what happens to my pension if I don't touch it. And if you don't touch those things, it actually really, really matters, right? And you can choose if you want to touch them to leverage those assets now, of course. And so you say hundreds of thousands, and does it go up if you include pensions?
So the pension, it's a little different because it's an Air Force retirement. And so it's not really invested. We just get a monthly pay for that.
Exactly.
And I would probably guess, maybe 400,000 to 500,000 is probably a good guess.
Okay. So I'm going to say, right, because just to approximate, we're going to say your net worth about $500,000. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm just going to Google real fast because I have absolutely no idea the fact, but I'm just going to open my tab. Everybody else can too. Some people are saying what are good financial planners. I go to one called Creative Planning, and they have offices all over, and I get no incentive, of course, but you can ask other people in the community, and they will have many different ideas about what is a good financial planner and who they prefer, etc. So, and you can do it yourself. You can start with doing some of this stuff yourself. So I'm just going to Google average net worth in the United States. How old are you?
49.
Okay, at 49 years old. I'm 49 years old. I'm going to be 50 in January. When are you going to be 50?
49. I will be 50 in June. So you're older than me.
Okay. So the median, yes, exactly. So median, as you know, is half of the people above you, half of the number of humans in the United States. So there's like 300 million humans in the United States. And oops, where'd you go? I kind of lost you. I need to get you back. I lost my Zoom thing. My Google Meets is open instead. There you are. Okay. So half of the humans in the United States are above 200,000 and half are under 200,000. And so you are well above, right? Well above average in net worth at this point. And you are in real estate and you are in this course. And what would you say to a physician who is, or any other household, Oh, look, Kristen has a financial advisor. She put it in there.
Nice.
Okay, so what would you say to any physician here who was at your age and mine, the exact age, and they were sort of around the average net worth after they had paid off their student loans? They still had probably their house debt, because you said HELOC. They had raised 5 children, most of whom are adults, and they only have 3 years left to go with the youngest, which are absolutely, objectively, the most expensive years of your life. You are not going to have more expensive years of your life than raising 5 boys, right? So all of us, we know, so it is a fact that most of us will die with the most amount of money we have ever had in our lives. So even though we're afraid we're going to spend down, even if you count that we go into like nursing homes or whatever things, because we stop traveling, we stop spending, we stop buying more and more cars and more clothes and more, we just stop. And so our net worth just goes up and up and up. You guys have all seen those graphs, right? So we die with the most money we're going to have. These are the biggest expenses you're ever going to have. Okay, so if somebody had made it through raising 5 boys or raising a whole bunch of children, right? Because 5 boys seems very specific too, but raised a whole bunch of children and had $500,000 saved already and had, I'm going to presume, hundreds of thousands of income. Yes, annually? Yes.
Yes, between my husband and I, yes. Yes, we do.
Hundreds of thousands of income, $500,000 net worth, and are investing in real estate and own a syndication, even you could leave that out. What do you think you would say to them about their financial position in the world and their history of how they had approached finances?
I would be much more kind and impressed.
Oh, what would you say? Like, I could bring someone on here. Like, I have a couple other people with their hands up that you see. Right. I can bring them up, and they may or may not want to say their net worth, right? But they could say it's higher or lower, and they could talk about their real estate and say they own or don't own. And let's just say they said mine's not as much as yours. What would you say to them? And they'd already raised their kids.
Well, what would I say to them? I would say that, you've obviously worked very hard in your life and been very persistent, and that's translates to the income that you generate, and that the debt is understandable because kids are stinking expensive and they don't get cheaper with years. They actually get more expensive the older they get.
I have one, and I spent like $5,000 on him yesterday because he started school today. We got him a computer, we got him like headphones, we got him like, I'm like, one
that's my life. Yes. It's just like they turn our money into dust on the regular, and I love it.
And it's worth it.
It's worth it, but it's also kind of when you're and I think the Gap in the Gain book has been really good for me because I'm kind of channeling that as I'm speaking, that, and I did start re-listening to it over the weekend because I felt myself getting off kilter again. So it's kind of that the Gap in the Gain, sort of the concept of measuring backwards and measuring your own progress versus comparing to others and their progress. So and you're right, there's cognitive bias. I do tend to dismiss why we have so many expenses, and that it is worth it, and it has been worth it. I think it's the comparison to other people that gets me, I think.
Yes. So it's good to know these are mindset observations, right? It's awareness and insight that matters most in the mindset work, and understanding, right? And compassion for why your mind believes what it believes. We all have comparisonitis, right? There will never be a time where you will have more real estate than everyone, right? There won't be. And like, I keep bringing up myself as an example just to show that it's like not just you, right? And it's not just the people here. Like, I'm in the top 1% of female entrepreneurs in the country now. I used to be a physician and clinical professor and used to win awards for humanism, medicine, all that stuff, And even then you'd be like, well, but I could be better, right? Yes, I won this award, but there's people who've been retired from that award for winning it for 10 years, and they would never retire me from that award. And I'm in the top 1%, but yesterday I was supposed to be at a meeting with 7- and 8-figure female entrepreneurs. And I'm like, I don't have significant comparisonitis. I'm really lucky that I wasn't kind of born or indoctrinated with a lot of that, but still I'm like, there's so many there that are so much farther along than me. Their teams are so much better than me. Like even Kirsten and all the people on this team, like their team is so strong. And my team, I'm always so like, and so it never goes away. And once I'll tell you, this is for real. Once your assets get to be a net worth, gets to be $1 million, then you're going to be like, well, I really can't wait till it's 2 million. And then serious, you're going to be like 3. And then you're like, well, once it's 5, because then 4% of that, if I never spend it, and then once it's 5, no joke, because I spend time with people who do this all the time in real estate and in other places, then they're like, but if it was 10, then I could be happy. Because then I really know I could leave this much I could leave 2 million to all my 5 kids. Right. So we're chasing and chasing and chasing, and it's never enough unless we cultivate the feeling of enough every step of the way. And that is the practice, right? Of cultivating the feeling of enough every step of the way. So for the other people, you said, and we can always, because you will be in a group, you are in a group with other people, right? Who have a lot of thoughts and feelings about where they are on their real estate journey. I don't think, would you say any of them are like, I am killing it. I'm so far along. I'm so above my peers. I'm the bomb. It's possible, but would you say any, or if you did say that, would you say what percentage are thinking that?
I'd be less than 1%. If
Okay,
it's there, they're
1%.
not saying it out loud. Yeah.
Yes, less than 1%. Okay, so 99% of people who are really far along in real estate because they're doing syndications, and I'm going to ask you to explain what that is because people here likely don't even know a lot of them, right? I know I sure didn't. And so the not enoughness comes along with us. And so we can allow the not enoughness to be fear and hold us back. Or we can say, this is normal. I'm actually having an event with Liz Gilbert next month, and she has this beautiful saying that is, it's from her book, Big Magic, and it's, fear goes in the back seat. It comes along for the ride, but it's not allowed to drive, and it's not allowed to make the directions, and it's not even allowed to touch the radio station, right? It comes along in the back seat, and you just allow it to come because our amygdala is designed to be scanning safe, not safe, fear, not fear at all times, every moment. Like if I start screaming right now, you guys will be like, and you'll be wondering what happened to me, right? Or wherever you go. People are asking what book. So the book I'm referring to right now is called Big Magic. And there's a quote, you can Google it, right? About fears goes in the back seat. Big Magic, Liz Gilbert. She's the one who wrote the book, Eat, Pray, Love, which is her better known book. But the book that actually Julia talked about is a really good book for everybody here, The Gap and the Gain. It's one of my favorite books to recommend because it puts you on the growth mindset as opposed to the comparisonitis, right? It, as she said, it helps you start. This is like the hero's journey for all of you. You look at where you started in life. Where did you start? What have you overcome? How much progress have you made? Right? And then you go through all of those things. And then I went to med school, and then I was in the military, and then I got out the other side, and then I did my private practice, and then I started real estate. And then it's like a snowball, it's momentum, right? And then I did my first syndication. And then I came on this coaching call and told myself I own no real estate, which is a big fucking lie, right? And so as is the lie, like a coach can say, where is the lie? And we're not trying to be mean. It's just observing that there's going to be facts in their stories. And so the story that I started with was we were not wise with our finances. And I'm like, okay, your net worth is $500,000 and you make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And you've raised 5 children and you are investing in real estate, have already invested in syndication. You're already a general partner in a syndication, which is a very advanced kind of thing to do in real estate. And you're about to go into some other kind of rental real estate, which actually many people might say is not as sophisticated or high level of returns as a syndication. That is an argument, right? And so we will, if I was able to open the screen, I would say that, so the fact, net worth, $500,000. How did you feel about that, about your net worth and your financial position when you came on the call and you were saying we were not wise with our finances? How does that feel? Because your thought, again, net worth, everybody pay attention in terms of like, we're going to put, because I can't type it in the thing. Yeah, Kirsten's doing it. Fact, net worth, $500,000. So Kirsten could type in thought, because this was your thought, about that fact. So everybody, write down the fact of what your net worth is in this moment. The fact. If it's 0, fine. If it's like perhaps 10,000, 100,000, just ballpark, complete ballpark. It doesn't matter how close you are. Her thought was, we were not wise with our finances. How does that make you feel?
The thought makes me feel shame and regret.
Oof. So powerful with that awareness, right? This is an awareness tool. Once we get the awareness, we can't forget the compassion, because otherwise we put shame on the shame, right? We're like, oh my God, my brain is telling me a story and I'm walking around telling a story and I raised my hand in this call and I told a story that fills me with shame. Why did I do that? Why have I been thinking that? Why have I been allowing myself to show up in the world over and over and over? Because once we get this awareness of how our thoughts and our narrative really influence how we show up, we're like, well, that was I keep swearing today. Sorry about that, but
It's okay.
That was like a freaking, that was a freaking, okay. That was a freaking unhelpful, useless way to look through my lens for the past 10 or 20 or 30 years, right? Since I had those boys and started having them and was married to my husband. And I'm like, we're not good with money. We're not good with money. We're not doing enough with our money. We're not, it's like, what the fuck, bitch? You know, you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're pretty badass, right? That's a little bit better story. Yes. I'm pretty badass. I have enough of everything. I'll always have enough of everything. And as soon as our kids are out of college, I'm going to be investing in real estate and we're just going to be like, bam. You know, like it's the same freaking fact. And so when you're feeling the shame, you just notice, oh my gosh, here it is again. Oh, this is the part where I feel the shame. Oh, this is the well-worn neural pathway. It really is neurobiology. We all know neurons that fire together, wire together. This is the pathway. This is the superhighway. Because creating new thoughts and new beliefs and new stories that are defaults is mentally taxing. Like it uses actually a lot of calories. Our brain uses the most calories of our whole body, which you may know because you're a psychiatrist, right? and so our brain is the most valuable asset we have. So you are actually doing the most valuable work in the world, right? Because if your brain is filtering every experience you have, every experience, then what else matters if your brain isn't working well, right? Your brain will take your life if we don't tend to it. So it's going to influence how you show up. And when we say our thoughts create our feelings, so net worth, $500,000, we haven't managed our money well is the thought, shame and regret are the feelings. What actions do you take from that place in this story, in this narrative?
What action do I take? I would say
when you're feeling ashamed and you're thinking you haven't done a good job.
It's sort of like an escape reaction. I just, you know, like doing anything that's not productive, maybe is a good way of putting it.
Yes. And so we have escape fantasies in our brain. These are very real. You know them well because that's what suicidal ideation is. It's an escape fantasy that we think it's going to be better if we just escape our present pain. And also escape fantasies, physicians who are working way more than they want to, they think if they just escape and work at Starbucks or become janitors or do anything that's 9 to 5, then we will feel better, right? And the truth is you would get there and you would feel bad about yourself for being there too, right? So we just think the escape is what is the most powerful. And so we notice that shame and regret causes that. So it doesn't cause you to take action. And so, you know, you've taken various actions, but perhaps the not investing yet in your long-term rental is from this shame and regret and not want the thoughts that you have about not wanting to mess it up, right? You have this fear. You don't want to get it wrong because you haven't managed your money well. And so you're afraid that you're not going to manage your money well again. And so then the result, we always say the thought creates the result. So you can find the thought in the result line. So thoughts, feelings, actions, results, everybody who's paying attention. So the result is you don't manage your money well because you're telling yourself that you don't manage your money well. So you continue to create that result because you have to prove yourself right because we can't have cognitive dissonance, right? And then it's mental load to use our calories, do all these things, just like when we're driving our car and we're lost, we have to turn down the radio, pay attention. It's like requires focus. So you're invited to have the focus that regarding other things with your money, right? Regarding your money, you say, and your real estate, et cetera,
Hey,
and your
Sunny.
net worth and your assets. Yeah.
I'm just curious because I know you're getting ready to flip this around into a place of power, but I just want to surround Julia with just a little bit of love and support
I
because I really appreciate how
know
vulnerable you've
so
been.
much.
And so I
So
would love to
good.
see us flood the screen with some of these
Flood
reactions
her
for
with
Julia
love. Yes.
because this
Thank
has
you,
been
everyone.
huge. So if you can
And
relate to or are grateful for her
yes.
sharing her story, like, yes, thank
Yes.
you.
I would say also, so give her the reactions we want to give her, but really, really type in words if you identify at all
Yeah.
with having shame about how you managed your money in your life.
Or didn't
Does
manage it.
yes, but we all have some kind of pattern with our money, and
Yeah.
do we feel shame?
Yeah.
Do we? It's nearly universal that this can come up. Look, we have Leva's,
Thank you,
yeah,
Julia.
shame,
Thank
guilt,
you.
regret, yes, so gratefully called out. And so this is why we do these coaching sessions, because we all have human brains, and our human brains have tendencies and patterns, right? And so human psychology is human psychology. And so everybody here, like, can people, because I say definitely, yup, 100%, totally feel the need to escape. Yes, regret. Yes, shame and residency. Almost took my life over it 20 years ago. These are very real. Like, this is no joke. This is no joke to have shame over how you've lived your life and how you haven't done it right. And I'm going to ask, does everybody see Kirsten's picture really big like I do? You can type in and let me know. There, she fixed it. Okay. We all make mistakes with money, just like is typed in here. Just like we all make mistakes with prescribing medicines for patients. It's universal. There is no physician who hasn't prescribed some things they wish they hadn't done that way, that they think the outcome is related to how they prescribe something. It doesn't exist. And so you can't have money without regretting how you spent it. Like, I have this, I always, again, referring to myself as an example, is that, and I could find lots of examples for you, but the minute I signed this lease, which was Friday, it's like so beautiful. I'm so grateful. I know I signed it for a reason. And I'm like, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? Why am I renting? Why am I renting? Why am I renting? This is so much money. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I could be putting this to so much better use. And then I have to allow, or I get an invitation to allow the panic, not to try to make the panic go away too fast. I'm like, this is anxiety. This is scarcity. This is regret. And then I'm pretty good at, recognizing, allowing, and then saying, and I'm so fortunate that I get to do this, right? And I'm so fortunate I have other investments. And I'm so fortunate that I'm not under the impression my primary residence is my biggest asset. I have another primary residence we're going to put on the market soon, blah, blah. But it's just the human brain offers shame and regret, and money is a big place for it. There's lots of other places it shows up, but money is a big one. So it's like, oh, so we have this model for everybody here: net worth, shame of how we spent some of our money, knowing with compound interest we could have done better. We all know it, all of us. And that's where we are right now. So we have awareness that that is our human experience of the world, period. So then it's like, oh, that's what this is. That's what this is. Humans feel shame over how they manage their money. It's pretty normalized. It's pretty common. It doesn't have to hold me back. And here we refocus on what we're doing right. So we're just going to do your net worth and your ownership. Do you really believe you don't own anything?
I guess, it's interesting when you said that. I have that mind that just dismisses success. That's why I have to
Yes,
re-listen to
you
the gap in the game.
do. Does
I do.
anyone here also have a mind, right? Because I'm pointing out the normalization and common human experience. Oh yeah, I said many times, you can go back and watch this. You said many times, I own no real estate. I own no real estate. I own no real estate. I'm like, this girl's lying to herself right and left, but let's just put that aside for a minute. I'm not going to interrupt her. So everybody think of the assets and even just the education and even just your presence here. What are we dismissing and minimizing? Because I'll tell you, 99.99% of physicians ain't on this call, right? And they're not in EB Pro, and they are definitely not syndication GPs. So everyone also pay attention that once you're on the other side and say you are an owner of a bunch of real estate and say you are a syndication GP, you're still going to be like, yeah, haven't done enough. Yeah, that doesn't matter. Yeah, right? So it's like, oh, it's catching yourself onto yourself with compassion. Okay, so why do you think you own no real estate? And then what's the actual fact?
I think because in my mind, I've considered real estate as an actual home, a rental property or a duplex or whatnot. And probably because that's my bigger, I have more fear to do that, interestingly, than to do the syndication and to invest my money in a syndication.
Yeah. So
probably because I'm going it alone.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're afraid. So when we look at the fear, right? Again, I name emotions when I'm in a circumstance, right? Like I was with Elise, I'm like, and I even tell my little boy who actually has autism, on the spectrum, started school today, and he has fear. You can imagine he has fear going to school because he's like, I don't know if I'm going to make friends, because he knows that kids can tell he's different. Right. So I'm noticing, on Friday about my signing lease, I'm like, this is anxiety. Why am I having anxiety? And then it's because of a thought. It's because of a story. It's because of a narrative. It has nothing to do with the fact, right? Because I could be like, this place is badass. I'm so glad I'm here. This is phenomenal. Great to be back in San Diego. And I'm like, oh, holy fuck, what did I do? And what is the anxiety? And so your fear, we're looking at, okay, you're telling yourself you don't own real estate because you don't own a home or a rental or a duplex. So you mean because you don't own a single family home or a duplex, which is 2 units. So 1 or 2 units, you're telling yourself because you have fear and you're noticing your fear of that. Because why do you have fear? Because I have to do it alone. I have to go it alone. That's the thought that's creating my fear. I have to go it alone. Notice that thought. Our thoughts show up in different clothing. So you said, my husband is not in this. I'm going it alone. My real estate, my EB Pro partners are not in this. I'm going it alone. So I'm going to guess, without getting too deep with you, right? Because, you're a psychiatrist, you know therapy, family of origin, all of these things. But like, I'm guessing I'm going it alone is not just in real estate for you. Yeah?
Yes, I would say that's, in some aspects of my life, yes.
In some aspects. Yes, that's all it needs. It only needs to show up anywhere. It can only show up in real estate, right? It really can. And sometimes if we look, it's also somewhere else. And sometimes if we look, we can find a time we thought that when we were little, right? Like this is way too much for a coaching call on real estate, right? But like, were our parents sometimes not really fully there for us? Is there a time at school where like all the kids teased us? Is there like, where are these? I'm going it alone. But we just realize, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of going it alone. And that's okay. This is like the deep, hard tears truth. I'm sure, am I even going to talk about it? I'm sure that's why I'm scared of this house. Because I just moved away from my husband. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, poor Kirsten. But anyway, we're just taking space. We're just taking space. So anyway, as I said, like I'm going it alone for real estate. It comes from other things. And the fears that we have come from other things. And if we can look at what the emotion is and what's really under the emotion, it's like, oh, that's what this is. And I'm not going to let that hold me back. And I'm going to allow it to be there. And it sits next to me. It has a seat at the table. It has a voice. And, I can tell you all the different things that have happened since I signed Friday, but it's all reassuring and lovely, but it's a process. And so the thing will be for you, okay, this is the fear. I'm afraid of not having 1 door and 2 doors, which are not the definition of success in real estate. I will tell you, I opened this story, right? This call with, I started super small with a single family home. I profited like 50 grand or maybe a little more, maybe even 70, I don't remember, off that home. And I told myself the story, that's not life-changing money. As opposed to telling the story that was like, that's half a year of work and take-home work, you know, cash for me. That's like 180 days of work. I never saw the property. I never went to the state it was in, right? I never touched it. And I made half my annual salary. But I'm like, see, that's not life-changing money. So then I go bigger. And you went bigger to start. And you're telling yourself that you don't own any real estate and you are fearful and you are terrible because you didn't own one of these things that I told myself didn't even matter. Right? And if I were to invest in real estate, I'm just going to tell you, I would not personally start now at this point in my journey, you know, once I sell my house, reinvest my capital. I'm not putting in a single family home and thinking that's going to get me all the money that I need, right? I would go straight for multifamily myself.
Right.
For sure. And I can tell you, you know how much of my net worth in syndications right now? Let me think. I don't know, 25, 30%.
Wow.
You know how much is in single family home rental real estate at this point? 0.
10%? A 0. Oh, wow.
0. I sold all my single family homes because they were a good place to learn and learn the basics. And for me, I'm like, the leverage is so much better in a multifamily. So I'm just saying it's a story. It's a story. I'm not saying my story's right. I'm not saying your story's right. I'm saying you told yourself you don't own real estate. Can you explain what a syndication is to people here who don't know?
Yes. Now, if I butcher any of the facts, Letty or Kenzie, feel free to jump in.
Same with me. Yeah. Are they even on this call? Where are they?
I don't know.
Can you see?
Yeah, maybe not. But a syndication, my general understanding of it is you have usually someone trying to purchase a very large property, you know, in the millions usually, and they need to raise money from investors to put down the down payment or to satisfy the loan requirements. And so you can either be a limited partner in a syndication where you're just investing your own personal money toward that portfolio, I guess you could call it, or property. Or you can actually raise money for that individual or company to help generate the amount of money that they need. And if you raise enough money, then you become a general partner, which you get additional financial perks from that piece from your work, basically.
Okay, so it's a big, not just a single family home, not just a duplex. Like people don't generally syndicate those, yeah? So how many doors, meaning units, to those people who don't know the word doors in terms of real estate, how many doors or units are in the syndication that you raised funds for?
I should have reviewed this. I feel like I'm taking a quiz.
Approximately, it's approximate. 150, 18.
Yeah. It's between 500 and 700 because
oh,
they did
dear
Jesus. You're funny.
Fall off my chair right now.
It might be maybe 300 and 500. I have to look at the number.
Somebody story right now. Okay, does a GP own any part or have any investment in any part in the property?
Yes. You
Tell me about that. What do you own?
A percentage of what you raise. I don't know how that translates to the actual doors.
Do you own a percentage of this real estate? It's a yes, no question.
That's my understanding. So I did this through EB
Wait
Pro.
a minute. Your understanding is that you own a percentage. Just to be clear, we're doing facts. This is called math. There's story versus math versus drama. Math, fact. If I go to a court of law, do you own a percentage of these 500 to 700 units?
Yes. And if I'm incorrect,
that's a yes, no fact.
That's
yes. So that's yes. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
And so notice how we even doubt ourselves.
Right.
Yes. And again, women more than men, you know, physicians more than maybe non, because we have to get everything perfect. We have to get it right or people die. And so we act like we're in a court of law every single time. We're writing a prescription every single time. We act like we're coding someone when someone's like, do you own a piece of that syndication? Yeah. Is that what that means?
I'm going to go check PubMed here.
I know. Check PubMed on whether I own part of a syndication or not. I don't know.
Right.
Like so let me just test it. If they sell part of that syndication, do you get some money?
Yes.
Okay, so you might just be an investor slash owner in that syndication. Maybe just maybe investor slash owner.
Yes.
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 Okay. How many units again?
I want it's sticking out as 500 to 700. I've been looking at another one
Okay.
lately, which is clouding my
You
memory, or maybe
raised,
300 to
yeah.
500.
Okay, so you raised for a 591 unit portfolio in Houston, Dallas, and Charlotte in one go. Okay, so let me just, this is a fact, people. I just can't even believe that you raised your hand and were the first person. This is amazing, right? You're the perfect example for this. You came on this call, and everybody go back. She believes these thoughts. These are her default thoughts. She really believes these narrative, because you know what narrative you have. You just is when you sit and it comes out right away, and you tell it to your friends and you tell it to whoever, like that is your narrative of your default thoughts and beliefs. Because a belief is just a thought you thought over and over and over that you just believe it's real. So you came on here and you're like, I'm bad with money and I don't own any real estate. You said each one of those several times before I interrupted. I'm bad with money. I don't own any real estate. And then Aditi here puts in the actual fact, which, well, you told me around $500,000. And then she's like, you raised for a 591 unit portfolio in 3 cities. So even if you only owned 1%, you own 5 units in 3 cities, right? And if you own 10%, you own about 60 units in 3 cities. And you get income from these investments, no?
Yes.
Every single month?
Quarterly.
Or every quarterly. You get quarterly income. Everyone pay attention to the facts here. She gets quarterly income checks. Income into her bank account from real estate in 3 cities. And she tells herself she owns no real estate. And she's bad with money. Come on. How are all of us doing this? Look for places in our lives where we're doing this with compassion, with awareness. And so for you, let me now just say, okay, so you own a part of 591 units in 3 cities. And you have a net worth of 500,000, one day 500 million, 500,000. Okay. And so again, partial owner of 591 units, 3 cities, quarterly income from real estate, 500,000 net worth. And what is your feeling when I say that? There was your default, and then there's what we want to feel when we remind ourselves of something more useful. Your default was, your feeling was shame, fear.
Right. Regret and shame.
Regret
and shame.
Regret and shame because you were telling yourself you were bad with money.
Right.
Okay. What other sort of like gap in the game? Can you tell me a little story? Because you know this framework of the gap in the game. You seem like you practice it. So can you tell me a little story of a woman who owns a part of hundreds of units across 3 states and has a net worth of 500,000 and has hundreds of thousands in income? Can you tell me another story about that?
Personalized to myself, right? Like how I talk to myself.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, there once was a woman who blah, blah, blah. Or you could say, blah, blah, blah. You can say it either way you want to. Tell me a little story that might serve you a little better.
Okay. I have been a hard worker my entire life, and I've always looked for the next challenge when I get sort of bored, and I tend to succeed when I put my mind to it. And I have accomplished more than I give myself credit for most of the time.
Anybody else here? Anybody else? Please put yes. Please put exclamation points. Please put hearts. Anybody else have the idea that maybe they have been a hard worker their entire life? If you're a physician, the answer is yes. And even if the other people on here who are like dentist, orthodontist, and the hard worker entire life, succeeded, and don't give myself credit, and maybe I'm more accomplished than I realize. Anybody else? I see a lot of exclamation points, a lot of rock star, a lot of yes, a lot of 100, a lot of they're feeling your feels right now. And if I had said, hey, you've been a hard worker and maybe you don't give yourself credit, you'd be like, here's what you'd be thinking. Yeah, I mean, Come on, right? And so we have to come to it ourselves. We have to understand why we think what we think. And then to understand, okay, this is the self-compassion insight, which is maybe I understand myself better. Maybe I have been a hard worker my whole life and I have not given myself credit for just how, I mean, you're a fucking physician, right? I mean, come on. Maybe you're a hard worker and you haven't given yourself credit because we normalize, right? It's the hedonic adaptation to whatever level of real estate we own, to whatever level of net worth we have, to whatever level of education we have. It's a hedonic adaptation. It becomes normal. And then we want more, just like you said, with your private practice, right? And so what do you want to feel? Because that's sort of like an intermediate, because how does that make you feel in this moment? We looked at regret and shame. We're looking at this sort of like ladder thought, intermediate story of like, maybe I could give myself credit. Maybe I have been a hard worker. How does that feel? What's the emotion?
Lighter, more confident.
Okay, lighter.
But still battling,
Yes, yes. And then we're going to go forward. Yes. So notice everyone, lightness is available. Look for what makes it a little lighter at first, a little less shame, a little less regret, a little lighter, because we have to believe it, right? We have to believe it at least, say 8 out of 10, we'll say 6, 7, 8, we'll try to get more 7, 8, 8 out of 10. Like what level would you believe that you are a hard worker and maybe you've accomplished more than you give yourself credit for?
That, those two things, I would say, I believe that now. I mean, I somewhere but in the background, but when I consciously focus on it, yes, that's a 10. What happens though is you revert. Yes.
Of course. It's never, here's what I'm going to tell everyone. It's never, I'm sorry, this is pessimistic. Some coaches won't tell you this. It's never going to go away.
Right.
It's going to be, here's the things it's going to be that we get to modify, because our human brains are never going to go away and our well-worn paths don't go away. Here's what we can do. We can turn down the volume and we can believe it less. Ah, there it is again. Oh, there it is. Right? I see you, I understand you, I know you, I love you, I have compassion for you. Thank you, brain, for keeping me safe. Thank you, brain, for keeping me safe. If I did not have my amygdala, I would be dead. Right? It is doing its job, right? Seek pleasure, avoid pain, conserve energy is what our brain does. The 3 things, right? Avoid pain. It's trying to make you avoid pain. It is. Thank you, brain. Thank you. Thank you. And yes, and no denial. Yes, and because if you deny it, it pushes back. No, but listen to me. There's danger out there. And if you're like, no, there's not. It's like, yes, there is. You don't understand. Right? And you're like, yes, there is. And it's worth it. Yes, there is. And I know what I'm doing. Yes, it is. And this is how you learn. Yes, there is. And this is how it's done. Yes, it is. And this is why there's a community. Yes, it is. And that's why there's a curriculum. Yes, it is. And blah, blah, blah. Right? And so that's a little bit lighter. Maybe I am a hard worker. And then we go to a little bit more aspirational. What do you want to feel about where you are with your net worth? And again, this is for everyone. This is not just for her. Everyone was supposed to be writing their own net worth and their own number of real estate. First of all, you can say 0 if you own 0 and you're completely renting. If you have a single family home that you own or you live in, that is a piece of real estate that is owned, right? Anybody, wherever they are with the real estate investment journey, they get to say. And even if you're looking at assets, you get to count any assets you have, your bank account, your retirement, your whatever. So put down your net worth and your assets and your real estate, and then think about, what do you want to feel about the fact? Because the fact is not changing yet. We keep the fact the same. What do you want to feel aspirationally about that?
Proud, confident.
Proud. Let's do it. So here is what we all want to do, everybody, right? To feel proud, then we get to opportunity to look for how we're proud now, what we believe that we're proud of now. And then we start to create that by believing that now. And so the only way that I became successful as a real estate investor or as an entrepreneur, as someone who spent my entire career running a nonprofit, entire career, I literally didn't charge my patients money. Literally, it was free, completely free, except for my time and volunteerism, right?
Yes.
And so I had to believe ahead of time. First of all, that free clinic wouldn't have existed if I didn't believe ahead of time it would have, right? Because I sold Rice Krispie treats and t-shirts to help fund it. And people are like, this is crazy. You can't do that. I'm like, my why is strong enough, as Kenji and Leti teach you, right? That like when your why is strong enough, you can figure out anyhow. And so you want to feel proud, you have to believe ahead of time something that makes you, and find evidence for something that makes you feel proud. And so what I do for myself and with my clients is maybe, just maybe, and then you find a sentence, or it's possible that, these are like what would be the word for it? It's like the beginning of a sentence, whatever those words are. I don't know, in English class. But you put maybe, just maybe, or it's possible that. People take notes. I'm telling you, take notes. This works. Maybe, just maybe, it's possible that, or I'm learning in front of some things. And we practice these until we have like a tray, a platter of beliefs, till we find something that really makes us feel proud. And so maybe, just maybe, what? Maybe it's possible, maybe, just maybe, it's possible that what? That makes you feel proud about the same net worth and assets you have. Maybe, just maybe, it's possible that.
Maybe, just maybe, it's possible that I am and have been good with money.
What else?
And
I've been good with money. What else?
Maybe. And that I will be successful with whatever real estate venture I decide to pursue.
And will be is future. So tell me something about now, because you did have been. You notice it's interesting, our brains, right? As a psychiatrist, you did have been, which is past, which is regret, right? And that was why it was hard for you to believe, because it was past, which is regret. Future is hard to believe because it's anxiety. It's out there. We don't know. What about now? That makes you feel proud. Like maybe you can be possible proud of what? Tell me.
I'm proud of investing in myself in the last 2 years.
I'm investing in myself. Okay, what else?
And I'm proud of.
We want these to be like short phrases, and so that's why I'll interrupt you on purpose. I'm investing in myself. That makes me feel proud. What else makes you feel proud right now?
I'm proud that I tolerated discomfort to do new things.
I tolerate discomfort, people, to do new things. I am investing in myself. I am proud that I tolerate discomfort to do new things. What else? What makes you feel proud?
Is this specific to real estate?
You get to, it's the circumstance we're talking about, and so you get to interpret it however you want, because it's your story. But the circumstance is that we talked about was the net worth, the real estate ownership, and like your family status. So.
So I'm proud that I'm leading my family on a new venture that probably would have never happened otherwise.
You went from I'm fearful, it's only me, it's all by myself, I don't want to ruin it, which is also present and also true, and we don't deny it, and we say yes, and I am leading my family on a new adventure. I am investing in myself, and I am doing it, and this is how it's done. This is literally how it's done. I am leading my family on a new adventure. I am investing in myself. I am tolerating discomfort. It takes tolerating discomfort. As you said, it takes trial and error in psychiatry. It takes all of this. This is what it takes. And then what is your very next action? Because we're coming right on the hour. What would be your very next action from the place when you're reminding yourself of a useful story where you feel proud that you are leading and you are investing and you tolerate discomfort? So I blank, what's the next step? Only the next right step. Don't go too far. One next right step.
Work on making this conscious more frequently in my mind.
Okay. So we're going to do thought work, and then what other action?
Continue to research the market and look at other, creative financial ways to get a down payment.
It doesn't get you super far. It's a start. It doesn't get you super far. You have to take action. I'm going to tell people that action makes it real, and in action in the outside world involving another human, some kind of action. That if I had a movie camera on you, we could document what kind of action. You're going to do thought work, you're going to research, and then you're going to
open a brokerage account today.
Nice. And then what?
And then
Don't try to get it right.
I know. I'm just trying to think.
Fantasy world, because anybody's
I'm trying to
get it
think
right
what I'm going to do without. I'm trying to think what I'm going to do.
Don't overthink it, right? Everybody here, when you're going through your own thoughts, feelings, actions, feel proud, think of something that makes you feel proud, take an action. I'm going to do thought work. I'm going to do research. I'm going to open a brokerage account. And then if I let myself think magically and I had a magic wand, the next thing I would do would be
call some contractors.
Yeah. And then what?
Call some property managers.
Okay. And you're going to tolerate discomfort just like you did before. And what are you going to tell them? And I know I have to go, Kirsten, but I'm going to call contractors and brokers. What are you going to tell them? Because figure out what you're going to tell them.
I'm a real estate investor, and I'm interested in interviewing contractors and property managers for the market.
That's your one sentence. And notice how she started with identity, just like Kirsten said. You don't call and say, hey, I'm looking for a contractor. I'm looking for a property manager. You call and you say, I'm a real estate investor. I'm looking for a property manager. What are your terms? That is all. I'm a real estate investor. I'm looking for a property manager. What are your terms? If you don't want to do it, have some other person do it. Right? That's even like the next level, is you not even having to worry. You just have somebody, you can have like a sister, a friend, or whatever. If you're too nervous, just get some calls out there. And how many calls do you want to make this week?
4. 2 contractors, 2 property managers.
Done. Result is you make yourself more and more proud, right? And you are leading, because those are the thoughts that we said you were going to lead with. And so it's a ton. Notice I spent like 90% of this time on the thought work. And then when it came to action, once the thought work is there, you're like, okay, you know the freaking answers. You know the answers. It's figuring out why we're not doing it. You said you were stuck. And I want to offer to you and everybody else here that when we think we're stuck, switch it for I'm learning. That's all. We're not stuck. We're learning, right? So I'm learning that I'm just going to call property managers and say, I'm a real estate investor. What are your terms? That's all. It's so easy when we let it be, and then you hang up and you're proud of yourself for tolerating the discomfort. So anything, and then I ask at the very end, always, is the med ed best practice and adult education best practice. What do you want to remind yourself from this call? And everybody do this. What do you want to remind yourself from this call?
Remind myself to focus on progress made to date and to not dismiss accomplishments.
And
subconsciously.
Absolutely, that's the thought work. And then what do you want to remind yourself about actions too?
It's when you think about it this way, it's really not scary. It's talking to a human being. So I guess remind myself of the power of your thoughts that just kind of run amok.
Yeah,
if you don't really.
It's not scary. You just talk to a human being. All you literally could be like, click. Right? It's not that scary. All I'm doing is talking to a human being. Notice we're making it like perfectionistic, all or none, thinking I have to get it right. Yeah. It's just a phone call. And the more
and Julia, remember that all those people that you're going to call, they have their own limiting beliefs and their own stories about this contractor. Am I really a contractor? How long do I have done this? What makes me an expert about being a contractor? Like, we are all figuring out where we fit into those parameters of identities. And so, we all are having those limiting beliefs. So, but I am so grateful that you showed up today. Your story helped change lives for hundreds of people that were in here today, not to mention the thousands of people that will be watching it on replay later. And I'm so sorry that we have to cut off so we can get to the next session. But Sunny,
it's beautiful. Perfect.
Hugs and kisses.
Thank you.
And congratulations on you embracing your discomfort to set yourself up for your next step in your trajectory of awesomeness.
Never stops.
That's right. It doesn't. Okay. Well,
thank you.
Everybody, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.